So what's the difference between a delusion, a hallucination, and an illusion? Well, first off, these are all symptoms that psychotic patients might experience. Now, a delusion is this false idea of reality. So it's this false idea of reality that they have made up entirely in their heads. There's nothing sensory about it. It's just entirely made up in their own mind. So there are different types, like delusions of persecution, right? So this is where they think that someone is out to get them, or they might have delusions of grandeur. And this is where they believe that they are something greater, like a higher power, like they actually believe they are Jesus or God or Abraham Lincoln or something like that, just like a famous figure or something, a historical figure that was important. They truly believe that that's who they are. And now the difference between this and like lying would be like if you and me were to lie about something, we know it's not true, but these people don't, and they truly believe that they are God or whatever they choose, and so that's what makes them delusional. And now hallucinations are like an experience that involving senses. So hallucinations are kind of like delusions that actually have sensory input, right? So our five senses, sight, touch, hearing, taste, and smell, they might hear voices. That's one of the more common ones, where they hear voices telling them to hurt themselves or hurt others, and that's probably one of the most common ones. So this is different from delusions because they actually have this sensory input, right? They hear something in reality, but even though it's not actually there, but they do hear it, instead of delusions where it was just nothing there, it was all completely made up in their head. And now illusions are essentially a misinterpretation of reality. It's sort of like, you can think of it like a hallucination with some kind of reference in real life. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there is something in reality, right, in the real world that they sense, but are mistaking it for something else. For example, if they hear, hearing nurses' voices, if they're talking at the nurse's station outside or something like that, outside of their door, and they say, "Oh, listen, I hear aliens talking." Now, this would be an illusion because they are hearing nurses' voices, but they're just mistaking that or misinterpreting that of something in reality. They're misinterpreting that as, oh, aliens are talking. Now, if the room was silent, this would actually be a hallucination, right? Because there's nothing in the background, no reference that they can reference in real life, and they just mistook those voices. If they did mistake voices for nurses, that would be an illusion, but if there was actually nothing there, like the silent room, that would actually be a hallucination, right? Because there's nothing in reality, where an illusion, there is some reference, right? So I'm going to write reference. In reality, there is something that they can reference in real life, which would be the nurse's voices, instead of like a hallucination where there's nothing to reference. And so that's the main difference between a delusion, a hallucination, and an illusion.